Hello, fifth graders. I am here today to read to you chapter 8 of Tuck Everlasting. Winnie did not believe in fairy tales. She had never longed for a magic wand, did not expect to marry a prince, and was scornful, most of the time, of her grandmother's elves. So now she sat, mouth open, wide-eyed, not knowing what to make of this extraordinary story. It couldn't, not a bit of it, be true. And yet, "It feels so fine to tell somebody!" Jessie exploded. "Just think, Winnie Foster, you're the only person in the world, besides us, who knows about it." "Hold on now," said Miles cautiously. "Maybe not. There might be a whole lot of others, for all we know, wandering around just like us." "Maybe, but we don't know them," Jessie pointed out. "We've never had anyone but us to talk about it to. Winnie, isn't it peculiar and kind of wonderful? Just think of all the things we've seen in the world, all the things we're going to see." "Well, that kind of talk'll make her want to rush back and drink a gallon of the stuff," warned Miles. "There's a whole lot more to it than Jessie Tuck's good times, you know." "Oh, stuff," said Jessie with a shrug. "We might as well enjoy it, long as we can't change it. You don't have to be such a parson all the time." "I'm not being a parson," said Miles. "I just think you ought to take it more serious." "Now, boys," said May. She was kneeling by the stream, splashing her face and hands with cool water. "Whew, such weather!" she exclaimed, sitting back on her heels. She unfastened the brooch, took off her shawl, and toweled her dripping face. "Well, child," she said to Winnie, standing up, "now you share our secret. It's a big, dangerous secret, and we got to have your help to keep it. I expect you're full of questions, but we can't stay here no longer." She tied the shawl around her waist then and sighed. "Oh, it pains me to think how your Ma and Pa will worry, but there's just no way around it. We got to take you home with us. That's the plan. Tuck, he'll want to talk it out. Make sure that you see why you can't tell no one. But we'll bring you back tomorrow, all right?" And all three of them looked at her hopefully. "All right," said Winnie, for she decided there wasn't any choice. She would have to go. They would probably make her go anyway, no matter what she said. But she felt there was really nothing to be afraid of. Not really, for they seemed gentle. Gentle and, in a strange way, childlike. They made her feel old. And the way they spoke to her, the way they looked at her, made her feel special, important. It was a warm, spreading feeling, entirely new to her. She liked it. And in spite of their strange story, she liked them too, especially Jessie. But it was Miles who took her hand and said, "It's really fine to have you along, even if it is only for a day or two." But then Jessie gave a great whoop and leapt into the stream, splashing mightily. "What'd you bring for breakfast, Ma?" he cried. "We can eat on the way, can't we? I'm starving." So, with the sun riding high now in the sky, they started off again, noisy in the August stillness, eating bread and cheese. Jessie sang funny old songs in a loud voice and swung like a monkey from the branches of trees, showing off shamelessly for Winnie, calling out to her, "Hey, Winnie Foster, watch me!" and "Look what I can do!" And Winnie, laughing at him, lost the last of her alarm. They were friends, her friends. She was running away after all, but she was not alone. Closing the gate on her oldest fears, as she had closed the gate of her own fenced yard, she discovered the wings she'd always wished she'd had. And all at once, she was elated. Where were the terrors that she'd been told that she should expect? She could not recognize them anywhere. The sweet earth opened out its wide four corners to her, like the petals of a flower ready to be picked, and it shimmered with light and possibility until she was dizzy with it. Her mother's voice, the feel of home, receded for the moment, and her thoughts turned forward. Why, she too might live forever in this remarkable world that she was only just discovering. The story of the spring? It might be true. So that when she was not rolling along on the back of the fat old horse, by choice this time, she ran shouting down the road, her arms flung out, making more noise than anybody. It was good. So good, in fact, that through it all, not one of them noticed that the man they had passed on the road, the man in the yellow suit, he had crept up to the bushes by the stream and heard it all, the whole fantastic story. Nor did they notice that he was following them now, beside the road, far behind. His mouth, above the thin gray beard, turned ever so slightly toward a smile. Okay, so that is the end of chapter 8. I think you're getting to know the characters really well right now, and let's talk about those for just a little bit. I think that from what I'm gathering by your comments, from the questions that I've asked so far on your Google Forms, is that you are recognizing that May is just kind of a sweet, nice, kind, positive, motherly kind of figure. And her sons are what I really want to talk about right now. Jesse, who is 17 years old, not really, but I mean, he is 17, and her other son, Miles, who is 22. So let's talk about the difference between someone who's 17 years old and someone who's 22 years old. A 17-year-old is basically still a kid, a teenager, under 18, so basically still a kid. So lots of energy, lots of look at me, showing off, being loud, and you can kind of see that in Jesse. He's looking at the world in this with kid glasses. Everything's great and wonderful and wondrous and imaginative, and that's the brain he lives in. And then if you think about his brother Miles, who's 22 and an adult, he's lived through some adult situations, such as he got married, he had children who grew up, and of course they left him because they thought that he had sold his soul to the devil or something like that because he wasn't aging. That is, of course, if you're believing all of their stories, but let's assume that it's true. And so there's the difference between the brothers. The brothers, they don't always see eye to eye. They see the world in a different way. Whereas Jesse sees the world as a bunch of crazy, wonderful possibilities, and think of all the things we can see in the world. And then you've got Miles, who is kind of like, whoa, you probably want to take this a little bit more seriously. It's not all, wonderful rosiness. That there are negative things about this that really need to be thought of. So, keep that in mind when you're listening to the chapters and the way that Jesse really brings his character out with what he says and the things he does, and then how Miles does the same thing, and just how different that their mindset is because of their age and their different experiences. So just kind of an interesting thought there. All right, I think that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed chapter 8, and I'll be back with chapter 9 tomorrow.